Before we start, I want to talk about the place of the bass in the mix, because bass has the elements of both the rhythmic side of the mix and the melodic side of the mix, which makes it a very good layer connecting the rhythm section and melodic section. It has a rhythmic basis, which is very similar to the drums, and yet the bass guitar, it also produces the different pitches and tones, which makes it a melodic instrument, unlike the drums. So it has the elements of the melodic side of the mix, and that's how it connects to melodic instruments such as piano, guitar, brass section, woodwinds, and whatever. The role of the bass is to connect two worlds together. And it does that by keeping the steady rhythmic patterns similar to drum patterns, but like in a different way, because you're not actually, hitting your bass guitar like that, with the melodic lines from the melodic world. So you are building your own melodies that are rhythmically structured in a similar way the drum patterns are structured to form the basses. The bass lines depend on what style you're playing. For example, if you play samba, you will play something like that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. When you're playing, for example, bossa nova are usually much slower than that. They have a similar pattern, rhythmic pattern, but they sound a little bit different. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. And so in blues and swing music, you only have 4 beats in 4/4 measure to make your path from one chord to another. This may sound a little bit excessive, but it's also very, very limiting if you know what you want to play and how you can make your path from one chord to another. There is just a certain number of ways of how you can go from one chord to another. How you can transition from one chord to another, and playing around with them helps developing your musical alphabet, or just the luggage of your bass licks or phrases or something like that, and it forms your style of playing walking bass lines. Back in my college days, we were only allowed to use the chord notes in the beginning. So for example, for a blues, you only have like 3 chords, which will be B flat 7, E flat 7, and F 7. We were only allowed to use the chord notes of each chord. So this will be the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th for B flat 7. Then for E flat 7, again, the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. And for the F 7, same thing. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. That's it. Only these notes. We were allowed to only use these notes. No like minor thirds, slides or whatever. No tritone substitutes. None of that. Only the chord notes. That was our primary limitation in order so we just started learning what to do with limited resources and how to build those like walking passages and roads from one chord to another with limited amount of notes we could use. And so for example, in order to walk from B flat 7 to E flat 7, you can by using only 4 notes in a bar, you can go either like, and here is the first note of the second bar, which is E flat 7. You are already here, so you're just playing root, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, root. Or you can go and start with a 3rd for the E flat 7 chord, which is acceptable, because you can start the bar either with the root, the 3rd, or the 5th. Never start the bar with a 7th unless it's just a quick slide, for example, like. So never start your bar with a 7th note of the chord. Never do that. So you can already start building a walking bass line using only the chord notes. It will sound like that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. again, your goal is to walk from one chord to another, to transition from one chord to another, to connect the two chords as smooth as possible, using the tones that exist in both chords, or just sliding from one to another. And that's how you walk. And so your goal is to find the most optimal way to connect two chords by walking from one chord to another. I will just show you a little bit of what's this called? Fly Me to the Moon standard, because that walking bass line is literally just walking up and then taking a few extra steps to transition to other chords. So you start with the A minor. So it goes like, fly me to the moon. It goes like A, D, G, C, F, B, E, A, or something of the sort. So the bass just walks up using like some semitones up the minor or major scale. So it goes like, next goes the D, then goes the G, and the C. And you all are already at the G major 7 chord. And then the walk stops and you just walk down. And you're back at the A minor chord. So you basically just walk up. If we are talking about rhythm changes, then it is also like fairly simple, and the A part of any rhythm change is a good way to practice the approaches to certain tones. So you take the 1, 6, 2, 5 progression, like, and you just start playing with that. Like, how can you go from B flat to G? You can either go just straight up jump to it, or you can go or that. Anything works. Then you have to go from G to C. You can go either, or you can go or anything works. Then you have to jump from C to F, or just walk there, or anything works. And then just go from F to B flat. So it's a very interesting exercise to develop the skill of how to approach certain tones and certain notes in a scale. For example, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There are different ways to approach certain chords and certain notes in the chords, and just by playing around, just by listening and doing bass lines by ear and practicing, you can come up with your own ways to build your own bass lines based on someone else's experience. I think that's enough for a little introduction. So yeah, Soul Strings, transmission's over. Thanks for watching.